Welcome to the Contrarians, and tonight we have a great topic. It's another episode in our Curating the Ultimate Concept Album series. Tonight we are taking a look at Thin Lizzy. The panel has their concepts together. If you've got one, let us know down below. Let's do it. Welcome to the Contrarians and to another episode of Curating the Ultimate Concept Album. We've done several of these already. Tonight, we are going to tackle Thin Lizzy. And look at this panel. West Coast Dave waving out to his fan base. We've got Andrew down there. Wave, Andrew. Waving to his fan base. And, of course, ladies and gentlemen, the Parish of Rock. So we're here. I'm sure these boys have done their homework. And they've curated the ultimate concept album from Thin Lizzy. So let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to start out with West Coast Dave, and then we'll go to Andrew, and then the Parish, and that's it. That's all we're doing. All right, West Coast Dave, you've got it. What is your concept? What is the title? You know how you've done this already before.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, Grant. All right.
Of course.
So what I did was very similar to what I did on the Rush episode, and I took tracks and put them together to make a story. And I wanted to make sure that the story was different this time. Also, so the main character doesn't die at the end. Oh, I just gave it away.
Oh, damn it. Well, the Rush episode's it'll already be up by the time this is up.
Yeah.
So.
And also, I wanted to make, I think this show would be so great if we could actually play the songs that we're talking about and then describe how they fit together.
Would be great.
That would be really cool. But,
now we could do that in the warehouse, but I wouldn't do that over here.
So I just, I put a bunch of bangers together so that if you actually did put these songs in sequence, to me, it sounds great. Like it really has some flow to it. Okay, so the story I wrote is called Thin Lizzy, Rock and Roll Cowboy. So song number 1 is Cowboy Song. Our protagonist is a young man who lives the rough and tumble life of a cowboy. Running wild, he catches a gig busting broncos in Mexico and being busted by the devious women of the night. Roll me over and set me free. The cowboy's life is the life for me, he says. Number 2 is Cold Sweat. While the rodeo life provides the thrills, it doesn't really pay the bills. Cowboy's got to get involved in some street hustling to make ends meet, and he finds himself dealing with some unsavory characters. He takes a whole month's wages for a heavy bet at the track that has him sweating bullets.
Uh-oh.
Song 3, We Will Be Strong. After Cowboy's street deal goes bad, he's feeling rock bottom. Down on your luck, the shock it has struck, the weak ones will die. He can't define himself as a victim of circumstance. He has to pull himself out of the hole he dug. We will be strong. I know we have the strength to carry on. Song 4, Do Anything You Want to Do. Tired of living on the fringes of society, Cowboy realizes he doesn't have to hide from those that scandalize and try to compromise his vision of himself. If you find yourself compartmentalized, you're not their puppet on a string. If you really want to, you can do anything you want. 5 is Fighting My Way Back. Re-energized now, Cowboy is fighting towards a comeback of sorts. He thinks, I'm rough, ready, and I'm able to pick myself up from under this table. Looking to my future, not my past. I want to be a good boy, but how long can it last? Side 2, it's a vinyl album. Side 2 starts out with The Rocker.
Oh, my favorite. That's my favorite.
I told you these were bangers.
All right.
Cowboy fights his way back to the States to try his hand at something new, rock and roll. He embraces the crazy, carefree road life of a rock and roll nomad. When he's on stage, that old thrill overtakes him. He hasn't felt this alive since the rodeo days. Instead of horses, he rides a motorbike and has his ways with the ladies. 7, having a good time. Fame and the life of a rock and roll cowboy have their perks. All-night parties on the town with the boys and copious lady friends become the rule of the day. We'll be having a good time. It's a rock and roll pastime. 8 is bad reputation. After burning the candle at both ends for way too long, Cowboy has earned himself a bad reputation on the streets. Old connections begin to turn their backs on him, especially as his erratic behavior starts to spiral. You play too hard, too much rough stuff. You're too sly, so cold. That bad reputation has made you old. 9 is borderline. It's a moment of somber reflection. Cowboy sits raggedly in a lonely bar contemplating his future. The backroom boys have all been telling him he is a borderline case. This rock and roll lifestyle can't last forever. Cowboy waxes nostalgic for a hometown and a girl he left long ago. They say you can never go back, but Cowboy isn't so sure. And the lights go down.
Ooh.
10 is renegade. He's just a boy that has lost his way. He's a rebel that has fallen down. The ghost of a rocker prowls the night like the wind on his bike. Nobody knows what further adventure will satisfy the cowboy's need to live free. To you and me, he's a renegade. That's it, boys.
Wow.
Very good.
Gentlemen. Darn.
I like writing.
I could tell off the Rush one. You were all over it. But it hasn't aired yet. But ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't watched the Rush show that we did on very similar subject, please check it out down below. All right. Excellent work, West Coast Dave. All right.
Turn my lights back on. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. All right. We're going to send it over to Andrew now and get his take on this. Andrew, what's your concept, title? You know how it works.
All right. So this album's coming out in 1983. It's going to be produced by Steve Lillywhite, who is...
There we go. Go ahead.
Because
go ahead.
He's been working with
U2
on War, and he really wants to do another Irish act. So Thin Lizzy, he has been in talks with Thin Lizzy, and they're going to put together this great concept album that he's got. And he's going to leave U2 because of this, making them have to go to Brian Eno and produce the greatest of all albums, Unforgettable Fire.
Oh, God.
But I digress. So the album is actually going to be called, and I've got notes here. So it's Old Moon Madness. And the concept that the cover, it's just a black cover with the moon on it.
Okay.
And it's the opposite of Vagabonds. It's totally sparse. It is a very sparse cover. And basically the story is the feverish dream of a madman. And what happens is it's kind of like pros and cons of hitchhiking a little bit, where this whole concept is he's dreaming over the course of a night. So it starts with The Sun Goes Down, which is kind of the theme song of the album. And then the story starts. The story starts as our hero is watching an episode of Perry Mason, and we get the song Suicide, because he falls asleep to this episode, which, did you know Suicide is actually written about a Perry Mason episode? And so this is what he's falling asleep to. He starts to dream that he is in the story. And this is kind of the logic of a dream. So things aren't incredibly linear. All of a sudden, in his dream, he goes from being this guy that got away with murder to being a rock star, and we get the rocker on there. And he's taking on the world with the rocker, falls in love with one of his fans in his name, of course. And then we get Romeo and the Lonely Girl, which kind of evens out the side. And then we get the last song on the first side, which is the title track, Old Moon Madness, which kind of is, summarizes again, kind of, we go from the narration again to the narrator, kind of talking about what's going on. It's the middle of the night. It's Old Moon Madness. So then we go to side 2, and side 2 is really when his dream kind of gets psychotic. He starts dreaming about himself as a cowboy. I feel like we're going to have a lot of the same songs on these, and we get Cowboy Song. As he's a cowboy in his dream, things slowly change, and you start seeing a more kind of apocalyptic part of his dream. And Soldier of Fortune comes on, and it's becoming violent and all of that. And all of a sudden, the war goes from a modern war to a war against British oppression from a long time ago. And you get my favorite of all Thin Lizzy songs, Emerald. And Emerald that's kind of the denouement of the story, this fight in Emerald. And then he wakes up. And how does he wake up? He wakes up in a cold sweat. And that's the next song. And then it ends with kind of the end credits, which is the hero and the madman, because in his dream, he is both a hero and a madman. And that's the end of the album.
And is it going to have that Steve Willie White production? What should I expect?
It's going to sound, it's going to sound a little bit like U2's October album.
Okay.
More of Steve Lillywhite's cinematic feel.
Is it going to have that feel of like Marshall Crenshaw Field Day? Should I expect that?
A little bit more like.
I just can't imagine Thin Lizzy like that, though.
No, it's going to be much more cinematic than kind of than what you're thinking of Thin Lizzy. Sun Goes Down is kind of an example of this. That could have been produced by Lily White. But
let's be honest, John Sykes left just before this album, didn't he? And in typical Thin Lizzy fashion, they had to have a stand-in guitarist, and it just happened the Edge was between albums.
Yes,
so the Edge obviously knew them, was a good friend, particularly of Phil Lynott, and then he stepped in for this album, obviously. So,
it's considered one of the Edge's
as often happened with Thin Lizzy albums.
Now it all makes
a one-off guitarist.
Now it all makes sense.
It's great. He's incorporating all those Edge effects, and it's not going to sound like any other Thin Lizzy album. But
a one-off.
It's going to be plenty Irish. Yep.
It's like the Alcatraz album with Steve Vai. One-off.
It's going to be like that. Yep.
Going to be like that. All right.
Yep.
I'm all right. I'd like to hear it. Based on that, I'd like to hear that.
But kind of like what West Coast Dave said, I made a playlist of this album. I've been listening to it all week, and it actually flows really well. So
good.
So try it out. I tried to sequence it correctly.
Sequencing is a big deal. So everybody, try it out down below, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know what you think. Plus, if you've done this exercise, we do want to hear from you. What is your, what do we call this again? We call this the Curating the Ultimate Concept Album. If you can come up with a Thin Lizzy concept, we want to hear from you down below. Let it rip. All right. Thank you, Andrew. Let's throw it over to ladies and gentlemen, the Parish of Rock. Parish, what's your, you know how to do it. What's your concept? What is your title?
My concepts are slightly looser. I thought, what does Thin Lizzy symbolize to me? And I think you've got all of those sort of historic stories that Phil Lynott used to like to tell. And on every album, there was at least one kind of historic story. So that was kind of the starting point. And then I've actually decided to go for some songs that are maybe a bit more deep cuts, not so much the obvious hits. And then I decided, as I was pulling this together, it was a pretty heavy album, I think, pretty guitar. Well, Thin Lizzy's guitar orientated anyway, but I think these are heavier, some of the heavier songs. And it was only when I finished that I actually realised I've started with the most recent album and worked backwards. So they actually flow historically, going further and further into the past from a point of view of when they were recorded. And I also did a playlist, and it's 40 minutes exactly, so the perfect length, I think, for a vinyl album. And there's 4 tracks on each side, and there's a bit of a theme on that. And the album is called Warrior. So it's basically taking all of the warrior-themed songs that Thin Lizzy did. And it kicks off with Holy War, the Thunder and Lightning album, which has the line, "We are chosen, we are one, we are frightened of no one, and no one will win this war." So it kind of sets the scene. From there, it goes to Angel of Death from Renegade. So both of these, I think, are up-tempo, sort of driving rockers, with maybe the added touch of the keyboards from Darren on Angel of Death. And again, sort of classic line from that. All angel of death shall waste this land. So again, all about death and sort of war. And then to Chinatown, I picked Genocide, another heavy song. And a line from that, did you do your duty and kill on command? And then to finish side one from Black Rose, I've gone for the title track, Black Rose, a rock legend, which has got that kind of Celtic rock feel. And the line, how he'd fight and always win. So that's the end of side one. As I say, it's not really a story. It's just a loose concept of theme songs. Flip over to side two, and you've got a song that kind of starts a bit slower and builds. And I've gone with Soldier of Fortune from Bad Reputation. From that, I then went to Massacre from Johnny the Fox, another up-tempo rocker. And then to finish it off, two songs from the same album, I've got Warriors. So just to annoy Martin, the album's called Warrior, but the title track's called Warriors, just to wind him up.
Nice touch.
And then to finish it off, it's got to be finished with the absolute classic Emerald, which I think is probably the song that really sums up the album with its tale of war and fighting. So that's my concept album, Warrior, pulling together all the Thin Lizzy sort of battle warrior war songs, going back from Thunder and Lightning back to Jailbreak, which I think is the classic era.
Right. 100%. I was hoping you put I'm a Rocker in there, but I didn't see that happen.
No, it didn't kind of fit the theme.
Yeah, damn it. Well,
It's hard to rock when bullets are flying everywhere
well
sometimes.
that's the best time to rock.
That's when you gotta rock.
That's when you gotta rock.
Did we have any songs on all three of our albums? Soldier of Fortune? West Coast Dave, did you have Soldier of Fortune on yours?
No, I don't think so.
No, there was a few overlaps, but I don't think there was any on all three.
Yeah.
I noticed when I was putting this together that it would be way too easy, kind of low-hanging fruit to make a record about somebody that was a hardcore drug addict. I didn't want to do Phil. I didn't want to do Phil like that.
Yeah.
Make that album just about some junkie that dies, because I mean it would have been a piece of cake. But I was like, it's got to be better. A better story about Phil than just being a drug addict. That's not cool.
It started with the concept based on the Jailbreak album cover, because Jailbreak was originally going to be a concept album, and therefore the album cover was actually drawn for that concept album. And then they realised they didn't have enough songs that fitted a theme, so they gave up on the concept. So I was going to go with that, but when I was halfway through it, I realised I was really ripping off Queen's "We Will Rock You" the musical as a storyline. So I thought, maybe not. I'll try something else. So I ditched it about halfway through.
Hey, I'm impressed you knew what the storyline to the "We Will Rock You" was.
Yeah, well, my story was about this post-atomic war future where Rock was dead. And they were making a cut, and then I suddenly thought, hang on a second, this is the story from We Will Rock It. So I kind of thought you might get taken down by the YouTube people, and I wouldn't want you to rant again, Grant. So I thought,
oh, well, I probably shouldn't have did that, but whatever.
We need to do a show ranking post-apocalyptic Rock is Dead concept albums, because I feel like there's been
there's
like everything from Kilroy is Here to QR3. We could do all of them. QR3,
Quiet Riot 3. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, remember The Wild and the Young? It was all about.
I try not to remember that.
It was a direct ripoff of Dr. Righteous. Yeah. Right out of Kilroy.
I never paid attention to that record, as with a lot of people.
Not many people did.
Not many people paid attention. No.
Had a cool video.
I could tell you. I don't remember. What year was that? Like 86
maybe?
I was thinking 86. That
Probably
sounds about right.
86. Yeah.
It's still Spencer Prophet, right?
I know Kevin Dubrow still on that album. I think that's the last Kevin Dubrow album before he got kicked out initially.
But it's still the same band, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think it's the condition
classic
critical
lineup.
lineup. Yeah.
Carlos Cavazo.
Oh yeah, Carlos Cavazzo's still on there.
Carlos is playing with somebody else now.
I can almost come up with.
Who's he playing with?
Rudy Sarzo is in that lineup, right?
Rudy,
Yeah. That's a pretty good lineup, actually.
Frankie Benali.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Quiet
Somehow
Riot
we got
kind of
on
brought me
Quiet
down
Riot.
a little bit.
We'll have to do a Quiet Riot.
I was
concept
riding on a
album.
high until we started talking about a Quiet Riot.
I tend to do that to these shows, but
I
yeah,
guess
at least
so.
we're not talking
All
about
right,
at least we're not talking about James Young solo albums now.
with
but
Jan
yeah,
Hammer.
Yeah. Yep.
We could. We should rank the albums of James Young.
Yeah. I wonder how many people would watch that.
I don't know, but I kind of like the idea.
Yeah, that's, there's only 3 of them.
I know.
Easy.
I think I'd like to do it.
Yeah,
That'd be a short show, so that'd be good.
Wow, this is a short show.
yeah.
Let's
Since
do-
it's a short show, let's wrap this dog up. Gentlemen, excellent work, of course. You guys are professionals. It's not your first rodeo. I want to thank West Coast Dave, who's getting up. Andrew, I want to thank the Parish.
Darn lights are on a timer.
Oh, well, I couldn't tell any difference.
Yeah, well, when the darkness shrouds me, it's part of my personality.
I understand. It's hard to overcome that. You got to keep the lights on or it'll take over. Anyway, we do want to hear from you in the chat. We're just yapping. If you've got a concept, curate your own ultimate concept album from Thin Lizzy or any of the other ones that we've done. Rush, Iron Maiden, AC/DC. The list just keeps growing. But anyway, let us know down below. Please like, subscribe. If you'd like to be on these shows, for goodness sakes, we'd love to have you. We have a Patreon. You could join that. The shows go up early. Not much has been going on lately. Martin and Marco are just traveling around, and I'm just here trying to keep the doors open. Well, I'm trying. But yeah, if you don't like to support us via Patreon, buy us. We have a Ko-fi. Buy us a pint or a cup of coffee. That'd be great too. But in the Contrarians, really, we're just here talking music. Hopefully, we can turn you on to something. Hey, hopefully, you want to go out and check out some Thin Lizzy. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap this dog up. We will see you on the next one. Keep it real, everybody. And thanks for doing that.
Hey, nice to see you guys. Nice to meet you, Andrew.
Yeah.